I regret to inform you that the white race has fallen. I know that you're hearing this from me, a white guy, so you might be questioning how that could be possible while I'm still here, but I assure you I'm actually the last one. The second last white guy to fall was Matt Walsh, who was the previous one to sort of sound the warning. After a devastatingly racist comment from Kamala Harris, as supported by Tim Walz, race traitor.
Okay, so now most people seem to be focused on the fact that this is so awkward and fake.
Do they show the bit here? They don't show the bit here, of course not. Why would you clip it properly? That's okay. I'll provide the context. Tim Walz tacos.
Like I have white guy tacos and
what is
like
that?
Black,
like mayonnaise and tuna? What are you doing?
Racist.
Ground beef and cheese.
That's
and,
okay. Do you put any flavor in it?
No.
Oh.
Here's the deal. No, they said to be careful and let her know this, that black pepper is the top of the spice level in Minnesota, you know?
I'm the first vice president, I believe, who has ever grown chili peppers.
So the section that we just saw right there, I'm not joking, has actually led to a lot of the right wing losing their mind. Thereby permanently disproving the weird allegations. Again, I'm not joking. This isn't me doing like an exaggeration or a facetious bit. First of all, there have been a ton of people who have been trying to disprove Tim Walz's claim that they don't have anything spicier than black peppers, ignoring the fact that he's obviously being facetious and you can in fact get like ghost pepper sauce in any part of America because that's how modern economies work. You can do anything you want. The world is your oyster. There were people being like, did you know that in 2016 Tim Walz actually got third place in a cooking show by making like this dish that had cayenne pepper seasoning in it? I'm not joking. Like, I think there was actually a Twitter community note about it. People were freaking out over it, like genuinely losing their mind. And a lot of people were also saying that it was racist to say that white guy tacos were tuna and mayonnaise or something, you know, which,
Tuna? What are you doing?
Pretty much ground beef and cheese.
That's okay. Do you put any flavor in it?
No.
Oh.
Here's the deal.
the white race has fallen. It's a humiliation ritual for the white man. You know, you as a white man, if you're out there watching, are meant to feel humiliated by this. Take it away, Matt Walsh, a person who's no longer relevant.
And lame. But everyone's skipping over the more important point, which is that a presidential candidate just casually dropped anti-white racism in
the... I thought comedy was legal again ever since Elon Musk took over Twitter, but obviously, apparently not.
the middle of what was supposed to be a lighthearted video.
Supposed to be.
You know, Tim Walz says...
Dude, the Matt Walsh Twitter page right now, the banner is literally an advertisement for his next movie, the hit sequel to What is a Woman, from the white guys who brought you What is a Woman, a comedy to DEI for Am I Racist? And this guy's getting offended over the tuna and mayonnaise white boy tacos joke. Also, the answer is yes. Oh, he's really, really, really promoting it, too. Yeah, Kamala Harris is an anti-white bigot. He was promoting that. Crazy that a presidential candidate can just casually let out some blatant anti-white racism and nobody cares. Imagine if Donald Trump said that a black guy taco was made with fried chicken and watermelon, nuclear meltdown. I do like the fact that from the right-wing mind, these are the same things, you know? A lot of white racists have... Okay, you know how racism, especially from white people, is very often a constant like victim complex where they have to pretend that they're being besieged on all sides when they have an enormous amount of institutional power. The fact that like the imbalance is most obvious, I guess, in the fact that you can't say the N-word but nobody cares if you say cracker. If you're one of those guys online, like you're a conservative and you pretend that those two words are equivalent in any way, I'm not even going to do that soy thing where it's like, well, why can't I say cracker but I can't say the N-word? I have to say the N-word because the word is obviously worse. You don't even believe the two words are equivalent. Nobody believes that, right? But as a white racist, you have to pretend that meaningless, harmless, race jokes about white people are the same as deliberately targeted virulent racism against black people, you know? Like, you have people who genuinely want a white ethno-state being like, well, if they can make jokes about white people, I can make jokes about black people. But you're not making jokes about black people. You just actually hate black people. The jokes for you are just a convenient delivery mechanism for the hatred. Making white guy tuna and mayonnaise joke, what is that genuine white hatred? Jesus Christ. I thought comedy was legal again. Also, making jokes requires understanding comedy. Well, right-wingers don't really believe in comedy. Have you ever seen right-wing comedy? There's no left-wing equivalent to right-wing comedy. If you take a look at left-leaning comics who do comedy, like Jon Stewart, you will find that their comedy is comedic. But if you take a look at right-leaning comics like Matt Walsh, and you take a look at what they find funny, all of their jokes are just a delivery mechanism for their political good-think. Jon Stewart and John Oliver and I guess, Stephen Colbert, if you want to go back farther, constantly made jokes at the expense of Democrats, liberals, the left, self-defacing jokes, jokes that were meant to be kind of generally funny without a political lean. Whereas if you take a look at right-leaning comedy, every single line is intended, first and foremost, to be a delivery mechanism for the right way to view the world. The comedic element is second. A lot of these jokes are hideously unfunny. You know? John Oliver, like, his comedy he's infamous for a lot of his comedy being the stupid, like, that was inappropriate, Susan. More inappropriate than a squirrel standing right outside your window looking at the pie you just baked. Get away, squirrel. Get away, squirrel. That's my pie. You get out of here, squirrel. You go get your nuts. Like, that's John Oliver comedy. It's hardly political, I guess. Beyond, I don't know, the extent to which perfect impression. Yeah, no, I mean, like, it's not exactly like political. I mean, I guess everything's political in that sort of art student, analyze everything, question everything kind of way, but it's not meant to be, it's not partisan, if that makes any sense. Anyway, I've made my point. Right-wing comedy doesn't really exist, or at the very least, it's not the same kind of thing as left-wing comedy, because it's not about the comedy. But okay, sure, let's hear about how this is anti-white racism.
That he makes white guy tacos, and Kamala says, what is that, mayonnaise and tuna? Like, that is anti-white racism. That's what that is. And if you don't believe that, right, if you think that I'm overstating the case.
I do.
All right, well, just imagine it the other way.
See, they maintain the delusional belief that genuine jokes are the same as thinly veiled hatred. It doesn't work. You know why it doesn't work? Because the idea of, like, white guys can't handle spices, white guys tuna and mayo, whatever, none of this is shrouded in any kind of historical hatred or oppression at all. Nobody says this as a veil for genuine hatred. Whereas actual KKK type racists are constantly talking about black people eating watermelons and chickens. Something which, by the way, is completely nonsensical because everybody likes watermelon and fried chicken. They're literally delicious. Everyone loves them. It doesn't make any sense at all. Like, the whole world loves fried chicken. This is like an inarguable, this is like one of the things that unites us as a species, So it doesn't even make any sense. But, like, if you take a look at I don't know, like the sort of plurality of opinions on white guys and tuna and mayonnaise, you're going to find in large part completely innocuous comedy. And frankly, I feel stupid even saying this. I think that you're already cooked if you think they're equivalent. And I'm not even one of those dipshits who believes that you can't make edgy race jokes. I've had black friends. Have you ever been a white guy with a black friend? They're pushing you. They're pushing you to be edgy. They love it. They think it's the funniest thing in the world, You go online and you're like, as a white guy, I've had black friends and they think it's hilarious when they push you to say the N-word, Like, you'll be listening to a song in the car and they'll be like, man, that line really goes hard. What was it again? And you'll be like, I can't do this, man. I can't do this. Why are you making me do this? And they're like, say it, white boy. Say it, white boy. Like, yeah, I love the hit song of the summer, Not Like Us. Would you mind singing it for me then? Yeah, you can't, it's a whole thing. You go online and say this, by the way, and then a bunch of white women will be like, you're making that up. Black people don't do that, and they've never had a black friend in their life. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. So I'm not one of the people who's, you know, I don't believe in being super prissy about this, but Matt Walsh is like really racist, and he hates people of color. So again, I think it's a projection thing, right? Remember how I've said before that to the fascist, racial politics are always defensive? The white nationalist will argue that they're not the aggressor. They're just taking the action every race wants to take, racial control of society first. They're trying to be like, if they think of it as like a war of civilizations where everyone already thinks the way they do with the racial warring, and they just want to be the one on top in that game. They think it's a zero-sum game. The fight is always on, and that if you aren't racist, you're losing, right? That's what they think, you know? And I think that's what they also tend to think about comedy, because their comedy is a veiled delivery mechanism for hatred. Everyone else's must be too. Okay, I'm gonna stop rambling now. Do you think he actually believes that was racist towards white people? I genuinely don't know. It could be a grifter thing, because we know that Matt Walsh freely lies all the time, knowingly. He'll say contradictory statements, whatever makes him the money. He doesn't believe in truth. We also know he's very racist, and racists tend to be very easily aggrieved, you know? If you can go on, like, any racist forum in the world, dude, go on Poll, go on 8chan. Don't go on 8chan. Don't go on Poll either, for that matter. Go on Stormfront. Don't go on Stormfront. Imagine a racist forum in your head. Rotate it, a 3D model of a racist forum in your head, okay? They're always whining. They're always whining. They're never triumphant, ever. They're always crying about how Tyrone took their white girlfriend, or how society has been blackified, or your rap music is ruining society, and why don't people listen to Wagner? And oh, the reason they don't listen to Wagner is because of something, something, something. But why does nobody else listen to Wagner? Western civilization has crumbled. It's just like Rome. Everything's falling apart. They're never triumphant. They're never happy. Ever. They're never happy. They're always whining.
Imagine a black guy says to Donald Trump, I make black guy tacos. And Donald Trump says, oh, what is that, like fried chicken and watermelon? Maybe sprinkle some Kool-Aid powder over top? Am I right?
See? Now, I'm going to do a little bit of like body language analysis here, if you'll permit me the opportunity to do so. I don't think that Matt Walsh actually believes these things are equivalent. I just think he's delighting now in the opportunity to be racist, with the veil of this being a like, how wouldn't it be racist if this happened, you know? I like, look at the way he looked when he said that. It's like, yeah, barely concealed joy of, now I have an excuse. Wow, you know, it's kind of like the guys online who are like, you know, equal rights means equal lefts. If a girl hit me, I would instantly slam them in the face with a haymaker that would break their jaw, you know? They're like delighting in the opportunity to be given an excuse to hit a woman. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that, I think, in my opinion.
How do you think everybody would react to that? What do you think the reaction would be?
Left owned.
Nuclear meltdown. Literally. I mean, they would probably shoot a nuclear missile at Donald Trump for that. They would execute him via nuclear attack.
Sure.
If he were to say something like that. I mean, the outrage would be so immense, we would never hear the end of it.
Okay.
The date of this black guy taco comment would be remembered by the media forever and memorialized. Like, for years after, they would solemnly refer to.
The funny thing is, if you knew anything about black people and black cuisine, you actually could make a version of that joke that would be pretty good. Like, if a black guy said, yeah, I make black guy tacos, and you responded with, you mean country fried steak and grits? You know? Oh, you mean like, what? Jerk chicken? Like what? Like, yeah, like you could, there are versions of that. Collard greens. Yeah, exactly. There are versions of that you could do that would be completely fine. Okay, that wasn't that bad. Yeah, because that wouldn't be racist. Those are just foods that, like, Southern Black, there's like Creole, Cajun, you know, soul food, whatever. That's like a normal, you could do a version of that without getting in any kind of trouble. It's just only racists immediately think black people love fried chicken and watermelon because everyone likes fried chicken and watermelon. You know what I mean? It's the difference between what an observation and stereotype. I don't think that's, I want to be clear, by the way. the tuna and mayonnaise thing is also a stereotype about white people, but it's, for one, warranted to an extent because tuna and mayonnaise are extremely common ingredients in a lot of white Midwestern food. You know, it's not like white people were enslaved by people who were doing minstrel shows about how white people love tuna, and like black people aren't putting on whiteface doing minstrel shows in 1892 about, well, I guess it wouldn't be, no, you know, they wouldn't be slaves in 1892. They would be in the minstrel show. In this reverse timeline, white people are slaves up until 1893, okay? Anyway, about, you know, the tuna and the mayonnaise and what have you. The historical context just isn't there, you know? They just want a reason to whine. It's the hatred, it's the stereotyping, it's the intent, it's a lot of stuff. What about Asian tacos, Vosh? Is it wrong to joke about dog meat? Well, I don't think that if you think Asian food and immediately your mind goes to dog meat, yeah, that's pretty racist, I would say. Like, there's like a billion other items of food that I would think of that are Asian. Also, the people who get up in arms about Asians eating dogs, dude, cows and pigs are just as smart as dogs. You know, all you're doing is revealing your, like, cultural bias there. How do you think Hindus in India feel about the fact that you eat beef every day, okay?
8/16, right? We'd have January 6th. Do you remember 8/16? I remember where I was on 8/16. The day of the fried chicken and watermelon taco joke. They would be weeping in the street. They would build statues and memorials to the lives lost because of the taco joke.
It's all whining, dude. Again, it's literally all whining. But I think that underneath the superficial whining, which is, I admit, very boring, I think the real whining here is, why can't I get away with it? You know? Like, why is it that Kamala Harris gets to get away with an errant comment about white people that was harmless and no one was hurt by it? Why can't I get away with wanting to build a white ethno-state and deport 20 million non-white people without it being considered racist? You know? Double standard, not fair.
KFC and Kool-Aid companies would come out and denounce Trump over this.
He's still...
So would every watermelon distributor.
See, he's really delighting in it. He's like, oh, I have an excuse. You should be like Steven Crowder and just be really racist openly, you know, with like the black voice and stuff. Like, if you delight so much in the opportunity, you only have to shift. You just have to leave the Daily Wire and you can do it. Candace Owens left the Daily Wire a few months ago and she's like an open neo-Nazi now, talking about how Judeo-Bolshevism from the Soviet Union was trying to corrupt the minds of Aryan Germans or whatever, you know? Like, you just have to leave the Daily Wire. You can say whatever you want.
In the country. And we all know that. This is another one of those things where, like, there are people that are going to clip this. They're going to take this clip of me saying that the comment from Kamala Harris.
This is really pathetic and embarrassing. A big problem with racial jokes from conservatives is that they aren't joking, they're just racist. That's genuinely a bigger element of it than I think a lot of people are willing to admit, and they don't like admitting it because then you're kind of relying on the assumption that they are racist, which is true, so I will rely on it. Yeah, it works like that interpersonally. If you have a friend who, like, ribs you over something light and you know they're joking, it's cool, but if you know they actually believe the thing they're ribbing you over, then it becomes less cool. That's like a normal part of human interactions. The difference is that racists lie about what they actually believe. So you have to do a little bit of inferential work. Thankfully for people like Matt Walsh, you don't have to do much inferential work to arrive at the conclusion that he is in fact a racist. But, you know, it's like, you're not slick. He's just excited he can use the facade of a thought experiment to be racist. Yeah, 100%, 100%, yeah. And again, I never actually think that it's the words themselves that make you racist. I think you could make any version of any edgy joke as a member of any race and in varying contexts be a-okay. It really does depend on the context. I'm never going to be one of those, like, anytime you say anything racially edgy or, you know, like make a racist joke or whatever, that makes you a racist. I don't believe in that. I never will believe in that. It's just the people who are loudest about defending the right to do that are racist, so it is bad when they do it, you know? Kanye West does not have the N-word pass anymore. He lost that like 3 years ago when he was joking with Trump about how he was on the white guy's side now because, you know, they would protect him. He doesn't have it. I have more of the pass than he does. Get mad at me in the comments section. I love the engagement. Thank you. Like, that's the difference between, listen, okay? Kanye looks at me and he's like, how dare you say the N-word? You're no brother of mine. I was born a black man. You're as pasty as they come. And then I look at him and I say, ah, true, ye. But there is one thing that unites us. We are both race traitors.
First was anti-white racism, and they're going to try to present it as though it's just like on its face absurd. And yet even they know that what I'm saying is 1,000% true, because you damn well know that that comment the other way, it wouldn't even be a discussion about whether it's racist.
They're
it would
still
be
whining.
considered the most racist thing a president has ever done, including the presidents who own slaves. And that's in spite of the fact that the watermelon fried chicken trope for black people is actually significantly less racist.
God, dude. Okay, I feel like I've already engaged with the substance of the non-argument, so let's just see how far he goes with this. Let's take white grievance politics to their logical conclusion.
Than what Kamala said. Because black people have a reputation for liking fried chicken and watermelon, because that's something that actually does come out of black culture. Black comedians make jokes about that kind of stuff all the time.
Mayonnaise and tuna dishes are really commonly used in a lot of like white cuisine is a pretty unhelpful term, but I think white people do in fact like mayonnaise. It's a common component of a lot of like Midwestern, like American food. I don't know. Also, white people make jokes about liking mayo all the time. There are probably more white people making... If you're black and you're still making chicken and watermelon jokes, I'm really sorry. You're doing a bit of a pastiche in the year of our Lord 2024. It's a bit corny. Get over it, okay? No one finds that shit funny except white racists. Chris Rock learned his own version of this, like, 15 years ago? You know? Like, past a point, the only people who are laughing are like... Yeah, and it's pretty basic, too. I mean, I wouldn't think it's very funny if a white comedian went up on stage and they were like, I'm a white guy, I love tuna and mayo. Like, that wouldn't be very funny. You have to be funny to be funny. People always forget this.
That sort of joke comes from a place of recognition and affection, really. Like, it's not offensive. There's nothing offensive. Like, fried chicken's great. Who doesn't like fried chicken?
See? This is the disingenuity that means you can never trust their word on whether or not they're actually being hateful. There's nothing offensive about it. Haha. Fried chicken and watermelon jokes, even though I just reveled in doing it for like 2 minutes and talked about how offended everyone would be. There's nothing offensive. You know, the tuna and mayonnaise bit, that's basically like a little white Holocaust against white people. But the fried chicken and watermelon bit, no one means that hatefully, you know? It's not like you can go find a of racist comic art from like the 1980s of black people drawn in horrific monstrous caricatures eating giant like sticks of fried chicken and watermelons with big bites, you know? It's not like you can't find racist cartoons and like Looney Tunes cartoons of them eating fried chicken and watermelon. Like, there's no hatred there, you know? It's the tuna and the mayonnaise bit that's really, really racist.
Yeah, it's on the level of like making a joke about how Asian people are good at math. It's like, yeah, it's stereotypical. They're not all good at math, but it's not bad to be good at math. It does come from a place of like, a lot of them are good at math. And that is also, that's the kind of thing you listen to an Asian comedian. They'll make those kinds of jokes. On the other hand, the mayonnaise thing for white people is,
on the other hand, chokes back tear. The mayonnaise thing for white people, hands start shaking. That really hits people, you know? Literal genocide. You know, you thought you saw it in Gaza, folks. At least in the Gaza Strip, you can run. If you're a white boy, you can't run from this.
Purely spiteful and hateful. There's no, there's not any kind of affection in it. There's not any kind of recognition. It's not something that actually comes from white people or white culture. White people don't.
What do you mean it doesn't? It's tuna and mayonnaise. It's tuna salad. What are you talking about, man? I'm revoking your white card. You're raceless now. You're like a racial equivalent of a person with no citizenship. It's over for you. We can't run because the mayonnaise made us fast. Yeah, well, you know.
Don't actually have any special affinity for mayonnaise. There's not any, like, it doesn't come from, you talk to white people, they're like, you know what, I love mayonnaise. Doesn't happen.
Are you kidding me? I'm sorry, wait, do you frequently go up to black people and you're like, what's your favorite food? And they're like, watermelon. Is that Do you have like a comparative analysis? Do you have polling data that we can refer to? What are we talking about? This man isn't white, bro. Well, it's not just that he isn't white, because he is in fact white. I think it's mostly that he's not human. He doesn't interact with people normally, and all of his human knowledge is veiled through him being a massive racist. Like, all of what would normally be a normal person's reaction to this, a normal analysis, a normal understanding of the world, is filtered through the grievance politics of a white racist. And for that reason, he has to be like, yeah, mayo and tuna, that's all hatred. Fried chicken and watermelon, never been used derisively against a black person. Like, an insane position that no human actually believes. But much in the same way that the people who don't believe the Holocaust happened are most likely to be the ones to say that it should have happened, the people who make claims like this about how aggrieved they are and how not racist the watermelon and chicken jokes are most likely to be the ones who mean them in a racist way, you know? You get that, right?
It's not a thing. The mayonnaise trope, it comes from
like
the most spiteful corners of black Twitter.
You're doing tropes,
that's where you'll
guys.
find those kinds of jokes.
You're doing
They'll
tropes.
refer to white people as the mayonnaise people, that kind of thing. I mean, it's a dumb insult. It's really stupid.
They're
but
gross and it's not okay.
It's quite like spiteful. It's just like a hateful, we hate you and don't like you kind of joke. So it is an insult that some black people came up with to make fun of white people. It's not good natured.
Wait, I'm sorry.
With to make fun of white people. So it is an insult that some black people came up with to make fun of white people.
That's an interesting bit of projection. The fried chicken and watermelon thing was an insult created by white people to demean black people when the black people were slaves. The mayo thing was not invented by black people to attack white people. Like, you can't, like, there was a broad cultural understanding, I guess, of the relationship between white people, white cuisine, and mayonnaise and tuna and what have you. But unlike the fried chicken and watermelon thing, where the origins of those comments as an insult can be very directly traced to the relationship between black people and white people as slaves and slave masters, the same can't really be said for this. Just an interesting bit of projection. The mayo thing was invented by black slave masters to bully the overseers. Oh, wait, sorry. The mayo thing was invented by the black slaves to bully their overseers. That's probably not true, but if it was, Matt Walsh would say those are the same thing.
It's not good-natured or friendly or grounded in any kind of affection or recognition at all. So what Kamala said is worse. Like, it's significantly worse. And
I can't even say the name of this chain of restaurants, which was founded in the 20th century, by the way, after World War I. I can't even say it out loud. The woke mob will come after me. I genuinely would encourage people who are unfamiliar with the extent to which stuff like this was used to attack black people to like look at any history on it. This shit was insane, you know? The only real takeaway from this segment is that Matt Walsh wants to be able to make jokes about black people eating watermelon and fried chicken, much the same way that Steven Crowder eventually did end up gravitating in that direction with his content once he realized that he could get away with it, you know? That's pretty much it. Thanks for the history, Vosh. I hate it. Yeah, I don't know. They're not beating the weird allegations. They're not beating the weird allegations, like, at all. It's not just Matt Walsh. Ben Shapiro also got very angry over this joke. Yeah, but not to the same extent. I saw Ben Shapiro's tweets about it. See, folks, it's funny that white people hate spices. Not racist at all. Just funny. Fact check. Europeans like spices so much they literally got involved in several hundred years of war in order to determine control of the spice trade. Whoa, I thought that European colonialism was done for the benefit of the backward savages in India and, like, you know, honestly, the rest of the world. So I guess it was for resource extraction. Interesting. I scrolled through the replies to this, and they were half left-leaning people attacking Ben Shapiro for being an idiot, and half neo-Nazis saying that, like, you know, Ben Shapiro has no stake in this game because he's not white and he's actually Jewish. Well, he is Jewish. You can be white and Jewish. More hard-hitting political analysis at 5. Michael Knowles lost his mind about this. They're not beating the weird allegations. This is just not something that in real life, day to day, like one's experience. It doesn't, dude. You can talk to regular Republicans and make white people mayo jokes, and they'll be fine with it. I promise you. Okay. A lot of my extended family is in the deep South. All right. I promise you, you can do that. Seriously, no one cares about this. If you're at like a cookout with a bunch of Republican white people, you know, for the most part, you can literally be like, oh yeah, I'm a good old white boy. I love my mayonnaise, you know, and they will just laugh. They don't like this. These are racial grievance politics that are being inflamed by the furthest right of the furthest right, who are most active online because they don't really go outside in real life. My favorite thing was the Cernovich thing, a Nazi, where he uncovers the Tim Walz hot dish, but he zooms in on garlic and onion powder. Yeah, them trying to like disprove Tim Walz's 2-second comment that black pepper is the spiciest thing they have in Minnesota. And on a hunch, I wonder if Tim Walz is lying about how people in Minnesota don't season their food. I wonder if Tim Walz is attacking the white race. And then he's like, here's the recipe of the thing that he made, you know? And then he zooms in: paprika, chili powder, onion powder, garlic powder, olive oil. Why did... I don't know, olive oil is pretty spicy. Yeah, I guess. 1 entire pound of sour cream. Wait, I'm blanking. Sorry, I'm too metric pilled. Is it 12 ounces or 16 ounces to a pound? The Europeans have gotten to me. 16? Okay, just making sure. Still makes no sense, but we respect it. Average Midwestern dish? Yeah. Where's the mayonnaise? Where's the mayonnaise, Tim Walz? 4 cups of shredded cheddar cheese. White people, when they see 1 can of diced mild green chilies and add chili powder to taste. I thought you said you couldn't handle spicy food. Maybe it's because it's called hot dish. Sad that he won with the light recipe. I mean, the joke that Midwestern Americans can't handle spicy food isn't wrong. It's like an objective fact. If you go get cuisine from Mexico, India, Thailand, you know, the average meal that you have from those places will be significantly spicier than the average meal that you have if you're eating in Minnesota. That's just a fact. Like, usually the cuisine in an area is derived from the crops and the spices that grow in that area. Like, usually there's a relationship. Not always, especially with the modern global economy, but like that tends to be how things developed historically, at least. I think this is why there isn't white cuisine. There's no such thing as white cuisine because there's no such thing as black cuisine. When we Americans talk about black people, we're referring to African Americans. Black cuisine being like Cajun, Creole, because those were African Americans who came over from like Jamaica or the Caribbean. You know, it's a whole historical thing. Or like soul food or whatever. But we're not talking about African dishes. When people say, oh yeah, black cuisine in America, they're not talking about Ethiopian food. Is Ethiopian food the one with the spongy bread that you dip? Right? Is that Nigerian or Ethiopian? I'm blanking a little bit. Yes? Okay, yeah. Like, that's the same way. There's no such thing as white culture or black culture. Those are races, not cultures. When we say black in America, though, we often mean black American or African American, which is a culture. And the reason why it has such a generic name is because, you've probably heard this before, something happened to black people that came to America that made it really difficult for them to trace their origins back to specific countries in Africa. You know, I don't know. Maybe someone wrote about this in a history book. I don't know. Something must have happened. So yeah, something about states' rights, no doubt. Was it DEI? Yeah, the woke plantation masters of the 17th century wanted to increase the racial diversity of the United States by bringing in foreign workers to wokeify our workforce. Something like that, I assume.